I spent my savings building a guest house in my parents' backyard, thinking it would be mine. The day it was finished, my dad handed me my bags. "Your sister needs it more than you," he said. I walked away without a word. A week later, they called me in a panic when they realized. I don't even know where to start. I still can't believe it actually happened. For years, I had been trying to make smart decisions to secure my future. I wasn't reckless with money. I wasn't irresponsible. I did everything the way I was supposed to. When I realized that buying a house on my own was out of reach financially, my parents were the ones who suggested building a small guest house on their property. They made it sound perfect. "It'll always be yours," my mom had said. "This is an investment for your future, sweetheart." I believed them. I used every spare dollar I had. Every bit of my time. Every weekend. Every day off. I worked with the contractors, made sure everything was done right. I picked out the flooring, the cabinets, the little details that made it feel like mine. For months, I imagined myself in that house. It wasn't just some extra space, it was my home. My safe place. And then, the day it was finally finished, when I was supposed to move in, my dad casually handed me my bags and said the words that still make my stomach turn. "Your sister needs it more than you." Just like that, I was nothing. I think the worst part was how casual they were about it. There was no apology. No hesitation. They had already made their decision long before they told me. I just stood there, staring at him, waiting for him to laugh. To tell me he was joking. He wasn't. I turned to my mom, expecting some kind of guilt, some kind of hesitation on her face. But she just sighed and smiled, like this was all completely reasonable. "You're young, Emily. You don't have a husband, no kids. You'll figure something out. But your sister, this will help her start her life." I felt my stomach drop. "You told me this was my house," I said, my voice shaking. Mom sighed, like I was being dramatic. "It's still part of the family, sweetie. And family helps family." I looked at my sister, standing there, not even pretending to feel bad. "I mean, it's not like you need it, Em," she said with a shrug. "And it's not like you were paying rent or anything." I almost laughed, not because it was funny, but because of how insane it was. I paid for the whole thing. The construction. The materials. The labor. The appliances. Everything. Every cent was mine. And now they were acting like I was the selfish one for wanting to live in the house I had built. I wanted to scream. I wanted to fight. To demand what was mine. But then I looked at them and I knew, it wouldn't change anything. They had already made up their minds. They had never planned for me to live there. They just wanted me to build it. I don't even remember packing my bags. I just remember walking away, leaving behind the house I built with my own hands. I didn't argue. I didn't yell. I just left. And I think that confused them more than anything. Maybe they expected me to beg, to try to negotiate, to fight for something that was already mine. I was too tired. So I walked out. And that's when the real silence started. At first, they didn't call. Didn't check in. I think they assumed I'd come crawling back. Maybe they thought I'd change my mind and offer to just share the guest house with my sister. I didn't. Instead, I cut off contact. Not in an official, dramatic way. I just stopped being available, and I waited. Because deep down, I knew something they didn't. I knew they had cut corners. I had been so careful choosing contractors, making sure everything was done right. But at the very end of the process, my dad decided to save money by hiring his guy to finish up some of the final details, things like the plumbing, the electrical, the last coat of paint. I told him it was a mistake. I told him to let the professionals finish. But he laughed. "Emily, you worry too much. My guy knows what he's doing. Besides, why waste more money?" I let it go. After all, I was the one who was going to be living there. If something went wrong, I'd deal with it. But now it was my sister's problem. A week later, the calls started. First my mom, I let it go to voicemail. Then my sister, I ignored her. Then my dad. By the time I checked my phone, I had 6 missed calls. I finally listened to the voicemail from my mom. Her voice was strained, irritated, not apologetic. "Emily, I don't know if you did something or if you knew something, but the guest house has a major issue. The plumbing is leaking into the walls. The electrician must have messed something up because the power keeps going out. And there's a terrible smell coming from somewhere inside. Your sister can't even move in yet. We need to talk." I played it twice. Then I laughed. Not because I did anything. Not because I planned it. But because they did this to themselves. The moment I left, they realized how much they needed me, and I wasn't coming back. I ignored my mother's voicemail. Not out of pettiness. Not because I wanted revenge. But because, for the first time in my life, it wasn't my problem. I didn't do anything to that house. I hadn't sabotaged it. I hadn't left anything unfinished. The only thing I had done was walk away. And now, a week later, it was already falling apart. I sat with my phone in my lap, staring at the missed calls. I knew I should have felt something: satisfaction, anger, relief. But mostly, I just felt empty. Because this wasn't just about the house. It wasn't about the money I had spent, or the time I had wasted. It was about everything that led up to that moment. Because deep down, I had always known, my family had never treated me the same way they treated my sister. But I had convinced myself that if I worked hard enough, if I was useful enough, if I was good enough, they would see me as just as important. I had spent my entire life trying to prove myself to people who would never choose me. And this was just the final proof. Because I had literally built a home for myself in their world, and the moment it was finished, they kicked me out like I was nothing. I turned off my phone and let myself remember. It started when we were kids. My sister, Lisa, was the baby. She could do no wrong. If we got into an argument, it was always my fault. If something broke in the house, Lisa could lie straight to my parents' faces, and they would still find a way to blame me. She's younger than you, Emily. You need to set an example. You're just being difficult. I learned young that Lisa didn't have to take responsibility for anything, because I would always be expected to pick up the pieces. I can't even count the number of times she lost something important: her phone, her wallet, even her passport once, and somehow, I was the one sent to help fix it. But the worst part? She was never grateful. Not once. Not when I covered for her when she skipped class. Not when I gave her money when she blew through her allowance. Not when she crashed my car and lied to my parents that it was my fault. Now you can watch the second part by pressing share and more.